Hi everyone, and welcome to the third session of the 2017 DigiPrint Supplies University. I'm going to open the chat window because I want to check something. Normally the chat window should be available to you all, and I just wanted to check if you can understand me well. We had a little technical issue this morning and my voice was not heard very well. So I'm just checking, just let me know in the chat window if you can understand me, if the level is acceptable. Okay, so small summary of what we did so far. In the first session, we verified our Mimaki GV3, our Mimaki GV3 250 SP, a printer that we got in that we knew was in a bad state and a not working state. And in that first session, we inspected it visually, and we verified various critical parts using the available tests. That revealed some issues that need to be addressed, and that's going to be addressed in the sessions that followed up the first session. Okay, in the second session, we looked at the motion system. So we looked at scan and feed motor, belts, linear encoder, stuff like that, and we corrected some issues related to the movement of the carriage in the printer during that session. Now, today's session is about the maintenance station or ink delivery. And before we dive into what we did and go straight to the video, we'll have a look at a small presentation giving you some background information, maybe some refreshment on the parts involved with maintenance station and ink delivery. So I'm going to switch my screen like this and start a little presentation. So apart from ink lines, because we're going to deal with the ink lines as well, the main parts involved are ink pumps, capping, and wipers. And technically wipers, of course, don't have anything to do with ink delivery, but they are part of the maintenance station, so that's why we cover them as well. So let's start with the pump. And the pumps we have in wide format printer are almost exclusively peristaltic pumps. The other type is diaphragm pumps. We'll show how these work briefly. But this is a peristaltic pump, and you can see a tube coming in the bottom of the drawing and a tube coming out. And then there's this rotational wheel which has two sets of wheels that push and squeeze the tubes, creating a vacuum and allowing ink to flow. So if you look at the animation, this is the working principle. Okay, so fairly simple working principle, but it works very well. That's why we have peristaltic pumps for so long. Now if we compare that to a diaphragm pump, you can see here this has a chamber and it has two doors, in and out. In is on the right side, out is on the left side, and there's like a valve that moves up and down. So if you look at the animation, this is how a diaphragm pump works. And if you compare the two to each other, then you will see that they both have their benefits and their less interesting characteristics. So a peristaltic pump has no contamination because the ink stays in the tubes while it flows through the pump. It's low maintenance and it has no backflow. There is no chance that ink will flow in the wrong direction. But since the tubes are squeezed and pushed all the time, the tubing will degrade quite fast. And it also creates a pulsed flow. So it's not a steady stream of liquid going through. Diaphragm pumps can work with higher pressure. They're much more efficient and they're self-priming. But you do have a chance of contamination. Let's say that you have ink in your printer with a diaphragm pump and that ink is contaminated. This contamination will go inside the pump in the chamber and probably stay there. So even if you flush it afterwards because you realize that you had contaminated ink, you should replace that diaphragm pump because you're not 100% sure that you get all the contamination out of the chamber of the diaphragm pump. And it creates a pulsed flow just like the peristaltic pump. So wide format printers use peristaltic pumps, old style or new style. A new style is just a different approach, a different design of the old style, but it's exactly the same principle. In fact, the animation that you saw on peristaltic pumps is from a new style pump. Okay. The new style was designed because it has a smaller footprint, so you could install it in a smaller space or install more pumps in the same space, and they are also sturdier, especially when it comes to the gears. A new style pump is more interesting than an old style pump. Capping. So capping seals your print heads when your printer is um, idle or is going to be shut down, or you're doing a cleaning cycle. So capping comes in the picture when you're doing that. And here we have two examples for a DX5 Epson printhead or DX4 Epson printhead. And you can see that, especially in the picture with the DX4, there's a rubber seal, and that's the seal that's going to cap your head. So it's important that that seal, that rubber stays flexible and in good condition. We're going to check that on our printer as well. Wipers, okay, fairly simple, but a very important and often underestimated part of your printer. You see some examples here. You can have a rubber, you can have a synthetic rubber, you can have felt, combination rubber felt. There's some DX5 wipers on display. There's a DX4 one. That's the one from our Mimaki GV3 250 SP. And the wiper is so important because it's the only part in your entire printer that will ever come in contact with the nozzles of your print head. Capping doesn't touch your nozzles. Your media shouldn't touch your nozzles. Wipers are the only ones that actually touch your nozzles. So it's important that these wipers stay in good condition, that they are not deformed, that they are not contaminated with dry ink, for instance, that would scratch your nozzles. Very important to keep this in a good condition and replace on a regular basis and have some extras on hand. Flushing box is still in the presentation. Okay, basically, or technically, it's also part of the maintenance station. It just takes excess ink and evacuates it to the waste bottle. Okay, so if we take these three main parts, pump, wiper, and cap tops, and go to our GV3 printer, then this is the exploded view of the wiper assay. And you can see the wiper all the way to the top with the wiper holder. And some parts of interest here are the wiper shaft, the belt, and the wiper motor. Now, the wiper shaft needs to stay in good condition as well, because that's the one who's responsible for the movement of the wiper when it goes from back to the front. So a little bit of oil from time to time. Don't drip it on the wiper itself, of course. Same for your belt, which is driven by these two gears. Well, actually one, the other one is just supporting, and that gear is driven by a wiper motor. If we look at the station assay, you can see that our printer has 4 of these DX4 cap tops, and they are in a cap slider assay or a cap box. So they are sealed, and you can see that each cap top has 2 of these springs, but you can also see, if you look at the cap base, that there's some springs there involved as well. And we'll see during the video that this is important. You can see an old style ink pump. The GV3 250 SP has 2 of these ink pumps. It has 4 heads, and a peristaltic pump of old style can drive 2 ink channels. So you need 2 with 2 pump motors to get them working. Okay? Right. This can go. Let's have a look at the video. Just a second. And this should be the one. I'm gonna have to.
Okay, so the first thing we're gonna test is our ink lines to see if they are free, if ink is flowing through them. So as you know from the state of our printer from previous sessions, that might be a problem. As you can see, the dampers Looks like the ink inside the dampers is not solid yet. We also have cartridges, 4 cartridges in the back. We have 4 in the front, and these have ink lines running all the way through the track. Let's have a look. Again, I'm not sure if this is solid ink, so let's follow these ink lines into the track. So here they are. Both ink lines from the right and the left side come together in the track here through this hole, and there's some interconnections. You can see a couple on the right side, and let me just move the camera so you can see the ones on the left side as well. Here they are. So some connections, and in case of trouble we can open these and try to push cleaning liquid from here. Okay, so we're gonna use a syringe and push cleaning liquid through these ink lines, and we're gonna take the short one from here. Let's take the yellow for instance. Okay, with positioning of the camera. We need some sort of assembly on our syringe so that we can insert it directly into these ink lines. And of course we need some cleaning liquid. So I'm gonna move my flat cables out of the way. It's a bit busy. We took off the entire carriage because that gives us a lot of space to work on, especially when we work on cap top and wipers and ink pumps later. So let's move these to the left side. Enough cables here to keep them away. Okay. I'm gonna disconnect this damper. So that we can hang the ink line into a recipient, a container. And let's put some paper towels onto the capping station and the pumps so that we don't have any contamination there, because it's possible that it's gonna get messy. Okay, so right, there's no way these gonna stay here. Oh. I'm gonna take off this stay. It's part of what keeps the right cover and the carriage cover, or the ink, no, not the ink cover, but the ink cartridge compartment cover together. So there's just a couple of screws that need to be taken out, so it will only give me more space to work, but it also allows me to give you a better view of what is going down there. Okay, so that goes out. And then it's time to test the ink line. I'm going to test one for this video, but of course we're going to test all of them. If I would test all of them, both left and right sides, during this video, then that would take way too long. Okay, removing both of the yellow dampers, and we're going to put this container, this cup, underneath so we can catch the ink, disconnect the ink line, connect it to my syringe, and then see if it flows. I don't feel a lot of resistance, and you can see the mixture of ink and cleaning liquid filling up my cup. So this ink line has been approved, is ready for duty. Here is the mixture. So okay, that looks good. So all of these ink lines, 8 in total, need to be tested in the same way. Right. So let's have a look at how my pumps and capping and wiper are looking. I need to take off this cover. So there's again a couple of screws that need to be taken out. There's 5 in total on this cover. It's the heater control cover. Yeah. And underneath we will see the pumps, the pump motors, and we have better access to the capping station or the capping assembly. And if you remember from previous sessions, this printer has 4 TX4 print heads. So we're going to see 2 pumps and we're going to see 4 cap tops. And we do have 8 dampers, of course, corresponding to the 8 ink lines inside our printer. Now the pumps in this printer are peristaltic, like in almost all wide format printers. So this comes off, wiggle wiggle, and there in front you can see above the gears, you can see the 2 ink pumps. There's one here and one there. Let's zoom in a little, and behind it there is a capping station. So if I turn the gears, do I have movement? Yes, I do. By the way, these integrated wipers that you see moving, they are not used. Operation of the ink pumps in this printer is in one direction only, so it never moves out like this. And as you can see, the right ink pump cannot even move the wiper assembly on it all the way to the left. Alright. Let's check some of these ink lines, how they are connected. So they all have metal connectors. Okay. Let's turn the camera a little bit so we can see it more from the side. Showing our wiper, which was the part that was surprisingly in a very good condition. See if there is no blockage when we turn it. That's running very smoothly, to be honest. So no issues here on the wiper. Okay. And there you can see our wiper in very good condition. Hasn't been used. It's just brand new. Let's park it again. Right. Our capping station cover needs to come off. So there's 3 screws and then a couple of hooks that keep it together. So we're going to remove the 3 screws, Phillips screws first. Let's get the dampers out of the way, wrap them in a paper towel, and then get these 3 screws out. Alright, there's a little bit of flexibility in that capping station because it needs to be able to move up and down to cap the print heads while in printing or in idle mode. This capping station is in the lower position, but when it needs to cap the heads, once the printer is going to get shut down or you do a head cleaning, then they need to move into the upper position. So there's some springs in there. Each cap top has 2 springs, but the entire capping station on this particular printer has springs as well, so it always turns back to its original position. Right, 3 screws. And then we need a flat screwdriver. Let's see how much flexibility it has. Okay. So we just need to put it in the holes, turn it a little, and then it comes off. It's loose from its position, and it's like a box which we can open again with a flat screwdriver. You see some holes there on the bottom. We just need to put our screwdriver in there and turn it 45 degrees and we'll be open. Right, let's do that. Flat screwdriver, hole number 1, turn it, and then tight spot here. Alright, take it out. Okay, and then take the top cover of this capping box. You can see the springs here, so 8 springs. You know what I always say about springs, keep your eye on them, you can't trust them. So let's unhook each individual cap top. I'm going to use a screwdriver for this one with all this ink. And once these are unhooked, we can take the top cover of the capping box off. And we can start having a look on the condition of our cap tops. Let's take one off. They are connected, the tubes are connected to the pump. So let's have a look at the pump tubes. And disconnect one of the pump tubes. And these little metal interconnectors, they're a little bit pesky. So is the camera position. Okay. So that's opened. Okay. Good. See if we can put up a syringe and a cup on these tubes so that we can test whether we have liquid flowing through our pumps. So we need to adapt the assembly on our syringe a little bit to have it fit with the tube on our pump. Okay. Let's adapt the syringe. And of course we're gonna have to move this longer tube to be inside the container. We don't want to spray ink in all directions. Okay, let's see. Pushing, yeah, there we go. There's even no contamination coming from these tubes, so it means that they are discolored by the ink, but that's it. Right, back to the capping. So you can see here these tubes. You see this? These tubes are in a very bad condition. We're gonna test them as well, but I'm 100% sure that no ink is coming out of these anymore. Okay, time to take the complete capping box out. So what do we need for that? We have 3 screws that hold the capping station, not capping box, capping station uh, in its position. They're very pesky to get at, especially the one in the back. So it's gonna be a little bit tricky to get to the screw that we need to take out. And once the 3 screws are out, we also need to disconnect all the tubes from the pumps. You really need a long screwdriver to be able to get to this this one particular screw. Yeah. I'm gonna use my phone to light up the area so we have a better view. Okay, you have it. This is one of these moments where you really curse the one who was responsible for designing this part of the Mimaki GV3 250 SP. Could have done a better job, could have provided better access to whatever screw goes inside, but we got it out. And we also removed the other two, there's 3 in total. So it's now loose. Let's take it out. Okay. And it's a little bit sticky from ink underneath. Did you see that? We had to wiggle it a little bit. And there's still some tubes that need to be disconnected from the ink pumps. Okay. So it's a good idea to label those tubes so that you connect them correctly, or you just, like we did, you take a picture of the entire assembly that you can use as a reference when you're reinstalling stuff again, so that you know which tube goes to the cap tops and which tubes of the ink pump go to the waste bottle. Because basically that's your flow there. From your cap tops to your pumps, from your pumps to your waste bottle. Okay. Routing these tubes, these are routed inside a plate with holes, which you will have a better view if we put it back. And it's really tricky, and what we're going to do on these cap tops, we're going to clean them a little bit, but we're going to replace the tube, so it's just a matter of unplugging the tube on the cap top, cut a new piece of 2x4mm solvent resistant tube and connect that to the cap top, just plug it in. Okay. Right, is it free? We need to really route these tubings through the holes. It's not that easy. There's always somewhere one of the tubes grabbing onto something. Let me help here. Just releasing this one. Okay. And the back one. Yep, and it's out. And here is the entire assembly with a capping and everything. Okay. So these are the 2 pump motors. We removed the entire assembly with the pumps. And they are turning. That's what I wanted to verify here. That's good. Right. So you can see we put some new tubes onto the cap tops, and it's time to install the capping station again. And you can see those holes there. We're routing the tubes through it. They need to go all the way through the bottom of this plate and back to the front, where they can be connected to the ink pumps. Okay. So playing with the tubes. You can always use an extra hand. Okay. So in the meantime, we did test all of the tubes that run from the ink cartridge to the dampers. And I'm happy to tell you that all 8 of them are free. So meaning that cleaning liquid flows from the start to the end. And the same for the 2 pumps. We tested them while we removed, or after we removed the assembly with the 2 pumps, because that was easier. Right, I thought this was going to be easier as well, routing these tubes back to where they need to be. But it's not. Okay. Do we have all 4 of them going through? Okay, this can go more or less into position. Yeah. Okay. Good. It's time to put the pump station back. Okay, let's put the screws back. As you can see, we secured the screw to the screwdriver with a bit of paper tape, so it doesn't escape us there in the back. And we're gonna put this one in first, and then the other 2. And this one is really pesky, but it's installed. So let's put the other 2 back and then see if we have what we need in terms of flexibility. Alright, you do that one, I'll do this one. And then we should have the same movement. Let's see. Alright, there you see it, up and down, so that's working okay. So that's back in position and has new tubes. Time to put the pump assembly back. Here it is, with our 2 peristaltic pumps. So we need to make sure that the tubes are a bit out of the way. This is simply secured with 2 screws. And the gears on the peristaltic pumps grab into the big gears, the big black gears that you see underneath there. So we just put it into position and then secure the 2 screws. Right, and basically all of these screws, all the screws that you saw us taking out and putting back today, they're all the same. So that's a good thing. Okay. Secure, secure. And then what we need to do is take our picture that we have taken and connect all the tubes again. So we labeled 2. You can see some tubes have a little bit of paper tape around them, and these are the tubes going to the waste bottle. Okay, finding the correct tubes, and then making sure that we connect them to the correct ones. You see this tube that's dangling in the front that has a metal tube connector on them. I'm not quite sure these are original. I'm going to verify that in the service manual afterwards. Okay, this one with the paper towel with the paper tape goes to the waste bottle, so we connect that here, and then we're going to connect all the other tubes as well. In total there's 4 connections from the cap tops and 2 going away. So connect them one by one, make sure that connection is secure. And then once all of these are connected, we're done with this, and we can start building our carriage back on top of that with the print heads. And that's the part that we will be looking at during the next session in early June. Okay, that's it for this video, so we can switch back and open the chat for your questions and our answers.
Right, let's open up the chat window. So chat is open, let me check that. Hooray, yes. On a side note, the previous sessions and also the one from today, you can view them all again on our YouTube channel, or if you go to our new website. Let me see if I can quickly show you. Let me share my screen. Yeah, there you have it. We go to our website. You go under services and then webinars. So that's the landing page of the DIGIPRINT University, where you can see sessions, and there's some replay buttons, and if you click them, they're available in English, in Italian, and in Spanish. So click one, then it's going to play that session. There you go. Okay, so under services, webinars, you can find the videos of previous sessions as well. Okay, and sharing. All right. Also mentioned during the video, the printer has 8 ink cartridges, resulting in 8 dampers on 4 print heads, of course. And we tested one of the ink lines, and you could see liquid flowing through. We tested all 7 other ones as well, and they're all open. So lucky for us, we didn't have to change any ink lines. Although on the GV3, that's a fairly simple process. Some printers are a little bit more difficult because you have to route tubing in the same way, sometimes in the same way like we had to do with the capping station, which was really a drag to get them in the correct position and try to pick them out again to connect to the ink pump. All right, thank you for joining us today, and I hope to see you again early June. It will be where we will start working on that carriage and get the print heads back to life. And I can already tell you the 4 print heads are currently not in a working state. So blood, sweat and tears then. I hope to see you again and have a nice rest of the day.